And then that happened. And it's like, dude, that's amazing. Like, that stuff like that. That's how these things work.
Yeah, that's
like,
pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's super interesting. And it's like some random city employee cold called them and changed the freaking area in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Morning, welcome to the Real Estate Podcast. Coffee Black, Alex Coffin, Matt Teifke here. We're excited. We had a bunch of meetings Saturday and Sunday. Hustling, baby. Right?
That's right.
I hate the weekend sometime because less people are working. But we're pumped up, and today we wanted to talk about Tesla coming to town, what that means. You know, I'm big on jobs. That's really the main driver behind real estate. And so you know, we heard this news not too long ago, and like I always say, we're an opportunity city, Austin, Texas, and it's amazing to be here and to have all these things and to feel like it's going to keep coming. It's like every other day, Amazon is opening up a new facility, Round Rock, Pflugerville, Kyle, they already have San Marcos. Then you get Tesla, the Apple facility, Kalahari Resorts, Perfect Game. I could go on. And these are important to know for when you're investing, for when you're being a real estate broker, real estate agent, because jobs, like real estate literally is all about jobs. Whether the jobs are coming in or going out is the key.
Mm-hmm.
And so, man, I'm like, you know, feel very blessed to be here in a market where that keeps happening and seems like it will continue. And it's funny, like the people that I've talked to that moved here in the 90s, Austin was like that in the 90s, in the early 90s, and it's pretty much been a hot market for a long time.
Yeah.
And still relatively cheap. Like if you like typical Round Rock subdivision house is still $260. That's unheard of.
Even less.
Yeah. And around the Tesla facilities in California, that's probably not, like I can't say for sure, but I would think that's not even close to what houses are.
Right.
So what do you think about this? Whenever you heard Tesla's coming to town, you get excited?
Yeah, well, do you remember me, you, and Sam were talking about it back in like April? So when COVID hit and, you know, the California government was shutting stuff down and Elon was like, I'm leaving Cali. Mm-hmm. I'm either going to, I forget the other place he said, maybe it was Nevada or Arizona. Mm-hmm. Or he said, I'm coming to Austin, Texas. Yeah. And I told y'all he was coming here. And so, you know, I've kind of figured that he was coming here for a long time, but he just, you know, announced it officially last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I have something very interesting. Even before that, when I was working at Edge, we were meeting in Hutto with the city council for Advance Auto. I used to do work for Advance Auto on the real estate side. And they literally showed us the plans that Tesla had. This was like 4 years ago.
City of Hutto did.
City of Hutto. They were going to basically take over like where all the train tracks are and all that industrial. And they were going to do their Gigafactory that they did in Nevada. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my gosh. They were like here talking in Hutto, Texas. Like it's insane to think these things going on behind the scene. And so that planted the seed like, oh, they obviously like Texas. Like they had multiple meetings and then they just picked. Because even like the one right now, they're going to Del Valley, East Austin. They probably were meeting with 10 other cities.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that they were looking at where they could have, you know, the most freedom. I think that was important to Elon.
That and what they do is they negotiate with the city as far as tax incentive plans. Like, what is the city going to do for me? And I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that, like, for the most part, like Amazon, when they were looking to do their new headquarters, when everyone was thinking it could be Austin, right? Mm-hmm. Do you remember where they picked?
No, they were thinking, I think they were actually thinking Dallas, weren't they?
Yeah, Dallas. I think they picked somewhere up north. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Virginia or something like that. But anyways, they were, you know, Tesla Austin was like, we're not going to give them anything. Like, we're enough desirable place. Like, they just need to come here, and we're not going to give them this incentive plan. Where the place that they did it, I'm going, like, rolled out the red carpet and was like, here you go. You're like, come here for free.
Right.
So that's part of these negotiations, and it's fascinating to think that it was happening in Hutto. Like, in my mind, I'm like, man, can you imagine what Hutto would be like with a Gigafactory there?
Yeah.
You know, I've already been big on buying in Hutto because the values are really good.
Well, and there's a lot moving to Hutto. Like you said, Perfect Game, and then Kalahari Resorts is right down the road.
Yeah, and the city's building 1 million square feet of industrial spec that they're going to release out to big businesses. So it's just really cool.
The city's building that?
The city's building it spec, which is rare. Usually you build it with a lease in place.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just like, we'll just build it. And this was announced before Kalahari and Perfect Game. So that's just going to make that even more desirable.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to find industrial space for a business.
Right. Well, so you got Tesla, Kalahari, Perfect Game, Apple's creating their new headquarters, Palmer and 45. That's technically Austin, but it's so far up north.
Yeah.
Then we got
Lexi.
It's okay.
and then what else we got moving here?
Well, you know, Oracle did that big deal, Riverside. We have a bunch of tech companies, Google, Facebook, that are signing big leases all over. And it's just every day something new. Like not too long ago in Round Rock, it was this big air conditioning company, you know, and it's like 300 jobs. And then there was this food packaging company, 100 jobs. Like those things just add up, and it's the influx of people.
What do you think about so Tesla is building it on Harold Green Road and 130, right?
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about this for a while, is when are they going to start developing 130 and going that far east? And I guess this is probably the start of that.
Yeah, it's I think the tricky thing is that a lot of that land is actually probably owned by not that many people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like they're just people just selling off all these parcels, and then you see like Chick-fil-A and a gas station. They're like selling the whole thing.
Right.
And they know it's valuable, so it's just the balance of them sitting on it versus getting a good price. And ultimately, I think it'll be big developments, like big shopping centers, and then the corners will be like pad sites for Chick-fil-A and gas stations.
Well, Amazon's building out their new warehouse in Pflugerville on 130 and I forget the road, but it's farther up north.
Right.
And so that's just something that I think about is when are they going to start developing 130?
Right. I think they're probably trying. I mean, Tesla's going to be huge. Like, there's going to probably be, I don't know, coffee shops and hotels and everything that follows that as good as they can.
Subdivisions.
Yeah. I've always thought, like, and I get it. I've always thought, like, if I was, like, Elon and buying all this land, like, I'd buy all the surrounding properties too.
Yeah.
But he needs to focus on his business.
How many people have you heard of talking about all the houses near the new Tesla factory so far?
A lot of people asking about it. It's crazy. If you go look at the MLS, you can actually see, like, things happen, like, just on the news. Aaron Morrison, one of our real estate agents, was talking about a developer that had X amount of lots. I think they had like 50 lots, and now they have like 3. Just literally because of that news. Like
Really?
someone just contracted all of it.
Really?
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a real thing, and it's weird because it's so far out. Like, I don't really think that, you know, the only reason these things are going up in value right now is speculation, which is real. But it's not like there's just all of a sudden, like, people just, you know,
move into those locations.
Yeah.
It's not too far out though. It's
No,
out.
it's not.
It's out there, but I mean, you know, you're 5 minutes away from the airport, and East Austin, Southeast Austin continues to get more and more developed. And
Chanel's going out there. Like, Chanel's going past the airport. It's like it's not a retail.
Chanel the clothing.
Yeah. It's not a retail. But it's distribution center.
Mm-hmm.
So it's happening slowly. And the thing that's really interesting is, like, when you study cities, what you see is, like, they typically grow in rings. That's how they normally grow. There's like a loop, and then there's another loop, and so on. And that's how San Antonio is, Dallas is, Houston is. Austin's not that way because of the landscape. Like, you can't, with the lake and the hills, Westlake, West Austin is cut off from that circle. Like, if you think about it, there's no 2 loops. So then what's cool to just look at how can these things grow, what's happening next. So what's happening is it's growing north, south, and east.
Right.
West is growing, but it kind of skips Westlake, like Travis. It's more like Spicewood. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just fascinating.
Well, and a lot of that has already been developed too.
Yeah.
Right. West has been developed, and it seems like it's going.
Yeah. Well, it has, but like the thing is, in East Austin, you can go scoop up 20 houses and put, a small hotel, but you're not going to go buy 20 houses in Westlake. You know what I'm saying? They're multi-million, and so the growth has been prevented from pricing and also from just the physical landscape.
Right.
Which is not normal. Like if you go look at most cities, most major cities have like 2 big loops or 3 or 4 or whatever. I'm sure.
In terms of similar real estate,
growth,
is that what you're saying?
I mean, just like there's usually like if San Antonio, Dallas, Houston are perfect examples. There's just like 2 loops, and then it's easy to, when you have the 2 loops like that, it's kind of easy to figure out the growth. It just kind of fills in.
Right.
When
I
it's
follow.
like Austin, it's just like a little weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is a little scattered out.
Yeah.
And it is a little different, And I think that is a cool part of Austin is that each little section is a little bit different than the others.
It is. I agree.
Like west, north, northwest, like Grunberg area now is blowing up, even more than I thought it was. And it seems like it's always changing too. And this is something that I was thinking about when you and Aaron and Andrew and I went to go view that property, is that each time I feel like I understand an ARV, a month and a half later it changes.
Sure.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely know that every area is so unique, and knowing the neighborhood is really important.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. As soon as I feel like I understand a neighborhood, in 2 months it has changed.
Yeah. But even understanding it from the MLS that's one aspect, but to really know it, you've got to know it deeper. And I'll give you a good example. I'm listing Lexi's parents' house right now. Comps put it at like 740, 750. We have looked at everything for sale, everything that's closed, and we just believe her house is a lot nicer than most of those properties. So we're like, I think this is worth $795. And people have told me, they're like, finding property on the lake under $1 million is getting more and more challenging. Like that's kind of like finding a house in Austin MSA under $200,000. These things are like going away. Then there becomes a new rule.
Is there property on the lake?
It's on the lake. It's 3-story.
Access to the lake, like in the backyard?
Yeah. We listed it at $795. We've got 2 offers at full asking price.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't really know that unless you really knew that market. If you just looked at the comps, you might list it at $750 and sell it for that. And the tricky thing is, we have it at $795. We have a buyer, but the comps don't say it's worth that. So we might run into that issue with an appraiser that's like, no, it's not worth that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, damn, like this is crazy. Her mom's so frustrated. She's like, I got a willing buyer, a willing seller, and we might not be able to do it.
Because of the appraisal?
Because of the appraisal, which...
Have you had one done?
Not yet. We just went under contract last night. But appraisals are also weird. Like,
yeah,
I have my appraisal license. It's not active. But
it's just an opinion of value.
It's opinion of value.
And it depends on whose opinion that is, how they're coming up to that conclusion.
And they can be all over the place. Like, I've seen them like $80,000 apart on 2 different appraisers. Like,
yeah.
And they're literally looking at like on the residential side, they're looking at the exact same thing we are on the comps.
Right.
Commercial, they have their friends and their people that they know that give them these comps. And there's a little bit more, being in the game and plugged in. On the residential side, it's pretty simple.
Right.
And like sometimes people, I saw one the other day, they're like, this is our appraisal, because they're looking at buying another house. Like, we got it appraised, and it was like $200 for this appraisal. I'm like, that's not an appraisal. That's a BPO, And like, it's just crazy. So I guess the point to that is there's some serious value to knowledge of this stuff, like just knowing how the game works, that you have to figure out by just being in it.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
No, I get it. And that's what I'm saying too is but it still changes.
Absolutely.
Constantly.
Absolutely.
And even when these neighborhoods and the comps and you're looking at, well, it's a 3-2. It has this much square feet. The comparable say 750, but we know this extra little piece of information that tells us it's probably worth close to 800. 3 months from now, that could change. Yeah. And so it's always changing.
And I told her,
because you say y'all sell it for $795, then everybody else starts selling for $795. Then it goes up.
That's my point. Literally one house selling. If there was just one other house that sold for that, that's our comp, and we're good.
Right.
It's that's what they base these things off. So when we bought this house, we did pay the top per square foot in this area, and literally 2 months later, everyone's listing their house around here at the exact same price per square foot.
Right.
That's the new comp.
Right.
And so it's really weird because appraisers might get that, and with Lexi's parents, they might give you that value. That becomes they get that and they set it, or they might be like, no, I'm sticking with the old ones. But then that becomes a new baseline.
Right. Exactly.
So it's tricky, man. But yeah, that's the value of really understanding it, and you have to just be in it. There's neighborhoods in Austin that there's no way I can understand the way that someone that grew up there and that's from there would, as far as it's worth this from me just looking on a computer.
Mm-hmm.
You can go talk to those people and get that information and get there. But it's fascinating to really learn that.
And it can go opposite ways too, on the downside. Dorian and I were looking at a duplex yesterday. It came on the market for $279, I believe, and we all get the notifications, and so I sent it to Doreen, and I was like, "What do you think here?" Just by looking off the pictures, she was like $215. It's well, that's gonna be really hard to get a duplex at $215 here in Austin, but we went and we checked it out, and I was like, definitely $215. It can go for the downside too, because
sure.
it's hard to find a duplex in Austin under $300.
Yep. This
one had horrible foundation issues. The setup was horrible. It was small, less than 1,000 square feet. This unit it had a washer, a dryer, and a refrigerator all together. It's in the kitchen. The layout was pretty bad, and so therefore all these things play into that value right there.
Mm-hmm.
It did have a big backyard that you could add an ADU, but it was
What's the story? Did you get the backstory?
Dorian's been talking to him. I don't know the full story of the seller and their interest in selling, but it's in a neighborhood in Austin that's not quite up yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely needs a lot of work.
Sure.
Just the layout. If you want market value, you're going to have to completely change the layout of the house.
Right. Yeah, it's weird, man. It's a weird market because someone might come and pay $250 cash.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing is there's, you're right, and you understand these things, but then people come in from other places and they just pay what they want to pay, and they change the game right there.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, it's fascinating. We found our office space recently, and that was a good deal on the finance. And the deals are out there. I talk to people all the time. You just got to go find them and hustle.
And that's, to speak on that, right? Talking about just knowing downtown Round Rock. We knew that was a good deal, even if, the condition that it's in, it's not perfect. I think we keep each time we leave, we think it's worse than it is.
Yeah, and then I get back there, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good.
It's not bad. It has, at least the vacant unit has had a complete make ready for the most part. Yeah. He's still doing work for us.
Right.
He's replacing cabinets in the rented unit. He's replacing carpet in the vacant unit. Contract signed. So he's going to get it even nicer before we get in there. But it's not bad at all. Mm-hmm. And just a duplex in downtown Round Rock is a great property. Yeah. And downtown Round Rock's not done doing everything that they're going to do as well. Mm-hmm. They just finished those. Have you seen that? They just finished those, porches out in front.
Yeah. Heck yeah, the wood panel floor that they put in.
They're going to do a whole lot of new infrastructure in downtown Round Rock. Yeah. And, that's a great property.
Yeah, dude. I know. And it just comes down to knowing it. And my big thing, everyone has different strategies and different goals with buying real estate. But to me, with my approach long term is I actually really don't care if we paid $10,000 or $20,000 higher or lower. It's what are the numbers right now? and like, what does this look like in 30 years? Because to me, it's like these properties are going to be gaining 10, 20,000 every year. Well, so yeah, maybe we're like a year early. I don't think we are, but I'm just saying, even if we were, it's like, yeah, we're a year early on the value, but it'll be there next year. And we also were able to lock something up that maybe we wouldn't be able to lock up a year from now. Like, these things don't just come available all the time.
I don't think we're a year early on value.
No, I don't either. I'm just saying in general.
Sure, but I mean, so that is in place too. Like, we know what the benefit is 30 years from now. However, even if you're strictly looking at the numbers due to the owner finance deal, say with taxes and insurance, it comes out to about, $2,000 a month for our payment. We can cash flow on that thing. If we weren't using it for an office, and we got a different tenant in the other unit, that thing would cash flow as commercial property in downtown Round Rock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So on that side, it works as well, plus the upside of what we're talking about.
Sure. And for us, having the business there, having people come to our house all the time, like, get some good energy, get people working. I'm like, this is going to be the Round Rock hub. We're going to start attacking all downtown Round Rock properties. And, yeah, dude, it's just, when you start really getting in it, like, I had a friend that works at Edge named Brett, and he does only commercial. And you go on his Google Earth, and he's got, like, pins on every property and notes, and he, like, clicks on it and zooms in, and it's like
properties he wants or what?
Just 10 years of just talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
And you go get in a car with somebody like that, and they're like, yep, that person owns that person owns that person owns that, here's the story. You're like, damn, like, you freaking know this well. And I love Brett, man. And some of the times I'm like, man, he has so much knowledge, but he's only getting the value of being a real estate agent and making the money for these other people. He's like getting his 3% commission, but I'm like, dude, you could like figure out how to put these deals together yourself and go develop them. He has that knowledge, and I'm sure maybe he's planning that, right? But it's amazing. Like, that's the value of like just being in it, and that's a long time, a lot of conversation. He knows all these random people that own all these random properties that know him.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a guy that will buy this type of property or that type of property. And so it's just, I respect that mentality of like just getting in the game. And that's what I want to do with downtown Round Rock. Like, have a spreadsheet of every property, every note. And, I'm not worried about, people are like, oh, I'm telling my strategy. It's like, hey, you can do this anywhere, and very few people will go do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's not easy. We're not going to create the spreadsheet and just do something. It's going to take 2 years of taking these notes.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been years and years and years of looking in downtown Round Rock, right? And that's why you take a different route on the way home.
Dude, I know. And like the fact that we walked by this property and I called him, there's a good chance that I didn't walk by that, and that's already under contract.
Exactly. It would have been.
It probably would have been, yeah.
When I was meeting with him last, he was getting phone calls.
Yeah.
I want him to take that for sale by owner sign off the front yard.
He was like trying to get buyers or something.
Just in case. But, yeah, I mean, it would have been locked up. Someone, we just happened to see it, right, at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, whenever that was, and we went and we locked it up.
Mm-hmm.
But someone else would have as well. But it goes back to the, that deal wasn't found by luck of the draw in that moment. That deal was found by years and years and years of this mindset and of this strategy, and we just happened to see one that day.
Yeah, and even the actual specific deal, the owner finance, I mean, that's years of understanding how that works and the knowledge and asking the right questions. You asked that question. So, yeah, I'm excited. I get excited about that, dude.
I am too.
Yeah. Well, Round Rock, as far as jobs go, I think people overlook it a lot. This is knowing these things that when I talk to investors, I explain to them all these things up front. Like, this is such a good market. And Round Rock's got Dell, which I think Dell is like the 9th or 10th largest private employer in the country. And then, that's, in some ways, we have a lot of risk on that.
Was Michael Dell from Austin?
I don't know, but he went to UT. It's a cool backstory. I actually talked to Andrew, and I talked to the Round Rock mayor, and he was in Austin, and he was going to leave because he couldn't get the right terms, like Elon trying to get, some kind of good terms.
Round Rock gave it to him.
Round Rock recruited him, or we'll give you this. So they worked the deal with him.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Round Rock, is they've been so aggressive. Austin's at a point where they turn people down. They make things difficult. Round Rock is actively recruiting businesses. They're I'm like, these guys are freaking real estate brokers.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you talk about that, and I've never witnessed that side of.
Yeah, I heard the story. I heard the Kalahari was a cold call.
Round Rock was cold calling?
Round Rock cold call. They told me the whole story. I heard it from the people that did it. They cold called Kalahari because they were talking to some other. I think they were talking to Great Wolf Lodge, and Great Wolf Lodge pulled out, and they're like, "Let's just call someone else." They called Kalahari. They're like, "Yeah, we were thinking about it." The mayor, the business development guy, and someone else flew to Kalahari, and then this was a 4-year process. They went there. They went to the grand opening for the next one. They started to get to meet them. They had them come out here. They all went to some ranch, and then they before they got on the plane to leave, they're like, "We're coming to Round Rock," and then that happened, and it's dude, that's amazing. That stuff like that. That's how these things work.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's super interesting. And it's some random city employee cold called them and changed the freaking area in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. What else happening out in Taylor?
Taylor, man, I'm not too plugged in.
Aren't they building something along 79 on the way out to Taylor that's, I don't know how to describe it.
I don't know.
It's like a commune type deal, but a...
Silos. Oh, that in Hutto?
Is it in Hutto?
There's some silos in Hutto where they're doing a development, which is really cool. Taylor's getting cool. I mean, they're getting... I've been out there recently. They had some really good craft beer, and they've got that barbecue joint, and things are changing. What I heard, and I don't know if this is true, but that Taylor was actually originally supposed to be the capital
of Texas.
Yeah, as far as I guess the location of it was this is where we want it to be, and then for whatever reason that changed.
Yeah, well,
Taylor's a unique spot. It's kind of out of my realm. I never got too much. We looked at some property over there once, and it's interesting. Hutto's. I mean, Hutto. I like Hutto, but Taylor's getting out there for me.
Yeah, it's a little bit out there.
Yeah. Anyways, jobs are key, man, and knowing about these jobs, it's important to understand what's happening, what's going to happen, and how people think, because you can try and get out in front of it in some ways. And Opportunity City, Austin, Texas. Some people that don't live here don't realize it, but Texas is great for business, but pretty much everyone that lives in Texas knows Austin's the coolest place to be, and that's what's driving a lot of this for some people. And then the business friendliness of Texas is...
You ever hear people talking about Dallas better than Austin? No?
No.
I hear it. People from Dallas say that.
Everyone else knows Austin's where it's at.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Hit us with the comment. Subscribe. You got anything else?
Nope.
Get after it. We're excited. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate everyone's time.